Hello and welcome to the Says Who podcast with Kat and Tip, plus our special guest this week, Harbo Wholmes. This is part 2 of our chat with Harbo, discussing our favourite episodes from each Modern Doctor's era. If you've not already listened to part 1, go and have a listen to that for our fave picks of Doctors 9, 10 and 11. But this week we're talking Doctors 12 through 15. Enjoy. Well, shall we get into Doctor number 12, Mr. Capaldi?
Yes, my favorite 12th Doctor story is like it's a really hidden gem. No one ever talks about it. It's like a very, very obscure, like underrated episode. It's called what's it called? It's Heaven Sent, I think it's called. No one ever really acknowledges it or talks about it. It's quite a hidden gem there.
Yeah, really underrated, I think. Yeah. I mean, what more is there to say about it? It
doesn't even really need to be like explained or just because everyone loves it. It's just so commonly understood as an incredible episode for all the reasons everyone agrees on. I made a whole hour-long video about it, so
if you want to hear your thoughts, go and check out.
There we go. That's a good plug.
Yeah, just casually slipping that in there.
Yeah. Is that your favourite too?
No.
Oh. I thought you were like, me too.
I think it's I think it's the best.
Yeah.
It's not my favourite.
Okay. Well, I think we could probably, because I don't really need to say anything more about Heaven Sent, so we can probably just skip right over to you then.
I think it's overrated.
You think it's overrated?
I understand that. People act like it's like the greatest thing in the history of television, and it is a fantastic episode. I love it. But I think people maybe do go a bit overboard.
It's a good episode. Like, it's a good Doctor Who episode, but I wouldn't say it's the best Doctor Who episode.
I mean, I do think that, but I also understand that people maybe go a bit too over the top with praising it and acting like anyone that doesn't like it is some, like, uncultured swine. Like that's how I view people who don't like Hellbent, but I understand.
I love Hellbent. I love Hellbent.
Isn't necessarily the greatest gift. I love Hellbent too. It's so good.
I'm still on the fence with Hellbent.
Why?
Because I think I don't dislike it for the reasons that other people dislike it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like they ruined Gallifrey, they ruined the Time Lords.
Yeah, it's like
this terrible. Nothing happens. It's so boring. It's like
it's for me. It's the fact that Clara doesn't die. I know she eventually does, but I don't like the Clara and Ashilda ending.
Right. Now I'm stroking you. It's okay. It's okay.
And the Doctor doesn't face. Obviously, he has his memories wiped of her, but there's part of me that wants the Time Lords to be like, no, here are you like you've come in and throwing your weight around, and maybe the consequence for him is that they not only wipe his memories of they force him to return Clara to her time stream, so she has another sort of tragic moment, but of like bravely embracing her death. So Moffat gets to have his cake and eat it too, because he gets to keep her alive for a bit longer, and then has to face the.
I don't know. I like the tragedy that they create the issue and they directly then have to like destroy each other to resolve it. Like the Doctor has to wipe his memories to like, because it's a risk. It's like, one of their memories has to be wiped because they're too dangerous to be together. So it's they have to take that gamble on a character level themselves. And it's like there's no interference there. There's no one forcing them to do it. It's like they just know that they have to because they'll destroy the universe if they keep on. It's just like the perfect culmination of that relationship. The way it all comes down just to these two characters, and it's their decision, and they both lose out on the trade when you think about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
But anyway, your favourite episode, sorry.
We'll get Harbo on for a Hellbent episode.
Yeah.
So my favourite 12th Doctor episode, again, another one that's incredibly not very well known. It's Twice Upon a Time. No, it's.
How come on? I love that episode. Be nice.
No. I only say that because a certain someone hates that episode with like a burning passion.
Someone I'm no longer going to be friends with then.
No, it wasn't. It's not me. It's my cat.
Yeah, sure. No, my favourite is the series 10 finale.
One Up in Time.
Yeah,
One Up in Time. That's
absolutely a solid choice there. Fantastic finale.
Me too. So let's talk about it.
It's
Mondasian babies.
Just a.
Is it your favourite because it has that 2-second clip of Billy Piper?
No.
Yeah. I'm maybe in the minority of thinking that the first part is maybe a little bit stronger than the second.
I think so too.
I thought that's what most people thought.
So
is that the consensus? Yeah. Okay, fair.
Yeah.
I think it's typically the consensus with most Doctor Who episodes because it's so easy to do all the setup and the world building, and it's much harder to then pay that off in a way that matches the first, because it's easy to build up a mystery in a story. It's then when you've got to pay it off that's harder. So most people prefer the first parts of like any story. So yeah, no, I think you're in the majority with that, honestly.
It's interesting you say that because I know for a fact that Kat makes a habit of, and it's always baffled me. And I remember getting quite
you got angry,
quite irate about it once. That when Kat will just put on an episode of Doctor Who, but for 2-parters, she will only put on the second part. Like, there's a real disapproving look on Harbo's face.
I think it's more of a confusion. Like, why would you only watch half a story?
Yeah, that's exactly. So, like, when's the last time you watched like Bad Wolf and The Parting of the Ways together?
Years.
Because the amount of times I've even when recording, I've come round to record an episode of the pod, and Kat's like halfway through Parting of the Ways, and I'm like, you just
so just every week then.
yeah, pretty much. Like, you've literally just put this on just this episode, haven't you? Yeah.
I already know the setup, so let's just get to it.
To be fair, when it comes to like people like us who spend way too much time watching and talking about Doctor Who, we know the ins and outs of every episode. We've watched each episode like 50 different times. I feel like you can afford the luxury of like skipping a first part because you already know.
Yeah.
I feel like as an experience, it's better to watch both. But I kind of understand being able to skip the first part because when you've watched it 50 times, you basically already know the episode off by heart.
The only
so I kind of understand that.
The only 2-parters that I watch as a 2-parter are when they're in the middle of a season.
Right.
So I watch.
That's just such a weird specific distinction.
No, because I'll always watch The Human Nature, Family of Blood. I always watch Rise of the Cybermen, Age of Steel together. Aliens of London, World War 3. I'll watch them together. But I'll never watch Bad Wolf. I'll never watch The Army of Ghosts. I'll never watch Stolen Earth.
That's like, but Stolen Earth is like Stolen Earth is like 50 times better than Journey's End.
Okay. I do watch Stolen Earth when Rose comes back.
I was going to say it's the last 5 minutes.
It's the last 5 minutes. I'll put it on for that and then watch it all the way through to Journey's End.
It's.
That just seems like it's unnecessary extra effort to put it on and then scroll all the way to the end.
Scroll all the way through.
Yeah.
Like, at that point, just get it on YouTube or something.
Do you know what? Do you want to know what the even more annoying thing is? I'll watch Turn Left first.
Oh, God.
Then skip through Stolen.
Oh, God.
There's just, stunned silence here.
There's just no saving some people, is there? Some people are just lost causes.
So Liam, how do you feel about me taking over as co-host?
Oh, man.
Stealing my pod.
It's fine. You can come back when you've watched all of them.
That's fine.
Um,
Yeah, so World Enough and Time being stronger than the Dr. Falls. That's the general consensus.
I really like the...
Just to clarify, I always watch those two together.
Good.
Okay, that's good. Okay, you win back one like half a star point.
Well, it has the most interesting use of the Cybermen.
Yeah.
So it's so good. The body horror is fantastic.
It's so good. It's everything that I want out of a Cyberman story.
It's the classic, the argument of, Cybermen are just robots.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
No, it's
like,
not. No, I think World Enough and Time, since maybe... I like Weird in Space, but maybe from like 2 of the Cybermen, that's the first time since at least Classic Who that the Cybermen have been done right in New Who.
Mm.
I have an argument with Rise of the Cybermen Age of Steel because it does the textbook Cybermen, and I do enjoy that 2-parter.
Yeah.
From series 2. That's like the second best
I
New
like it
Who
a lot.
Cybermen.
Yeah.
But like World Enough and Time, like the core of what the Cybermen are, it does so well.
Yeah.
Like it has that classic tone where they got it right, where they got it spot on.
And I love the slow build up to them.
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel like even if you know like the Mondasian Cybermen or whatever, you don't like. I know they announced it ahead of time and all that stuff. But if you're just watching the episode in a vacuum, it's not immediately obvious when you see them with like that head wrap. It's like, oh, that's the Mondasian Cybermen.
Yeah.
But then when they have the reveal at the end, it all just clicks into place and it just makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's a part of why I don't think the Dr. Falls is quite as strong as World Enough and Time, because although you've got all of that great stuff with Bill, and her conversion,
Really like all that.
the body horror of the Cybermen and the sort of like existential horror and all of that.
That it kind of takes a backseat to them just being another invading force.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's what the Cybermen are always used for. They're always like a secondary to the story, and that's what what really annoys me with like New Who. They always become a second
New Who
fiddle.
is Rectum, yeah.
Yeah. So like again, that's what happens in the Dr. Falls.
Because you've got like in Doomsday, they kind of play second fiddle to the Daleks.
And the overall story.
And then they're always attached to the Master after that.
Yeah, because I think this story is the series 8 finale done better. Because like a lot of the elements,
I feel like they're very different. I kind of see what you mean, but they're very different.
In the okay, let me try and back my case.
I was going to say, you've got to try and dig yourself out of this hole here.
So in that, it revolves around the Doctor and the Master's relationship, with one of them really trying to reach out to the other and maybe not succeeding. The Cybermen come in, and there's some really like dark, quite existential, horrific stuff going on there. But in Dark Water and Death in Heaven with the afterlife and the Don't Cremate Me and all of that.
Oh god, that's like
incredible.
one singular line that's ruined like the idea of cremation for like at least 2 generations of people.
It's
horrifying.
Because it's one of those things that's just like I wonder how conscious Moffat was that it would have that effect when he wrote that line. Because it's one of those things that's like you don't know, and now it's like, well, now I don't even want to take the risk. I don't want to cremate it just in case.
But and then obviously with all the body horror stuff you get in One Enough in Time, it ends up quite not small stakes, but it ends up quite like very character focused come the end. And that there's an element of defeat there, even though there's a sort of triumph. The Doctor doesn't quite really manage to stop all of those things going on. You know, in Death in Heaven, all of those dead bodies are still Cybermen. and they fly up to the sky and explode. Sure. And with the Doctor Falls, like he literally just gets like kind of outgunned. Like
like I love about the Doctor Falls is it's very similar to Parting of the Ways, where basically everyone dies. Like, yes, Nardole and the humans don't die
on screen,
but it's implied that they do eventually, because there's just it's just buying time. So it's just such a tragedy on all fronts, where it's like, you know, the Doctor dies quote unquote for nothing, but then that's the whole exploration of his character, of how that doesn't matter to him, because he just wants to try, he wants to do anything he can to even buy him a few more days. Because that's just that he has that great speech.
It's such a beautiful speech. I think that, and his monologue in the pilot about like the movement of time is an illusion and all of that. Those two speeches, like Moffat's writing and Capaldi's delivery, just
marry.
Beautifully, and it's really just encapsulates everything about that character. Just that real like stardust and like real heart at the center of it, that it is just about as you say, just
incredible
trying and just sort of standing for what you believe in, and
that whole thing of he doesn't want to win, because that's been the Master's whole thing. The Master always wants to win, like at the end of Last of the Time Lords, where the Master chooses to die rather than travel with the Doctor as like a pet, basically. He literally says, I win, because it's like he's denying the Doctor that chance of trying to redeem the Master, or it's the only thing the Master can do at that point to beat the Doctor, because the Master's whole thing has been about winning, like at least in that incarnation. So then that comes back when that Master comes back in the series 10 finale. Then it's the whole thing of like the Doctor saying, well, winning has never been what this is all about. So it's just such a great way of trying to get through to the Master. And then obviously Missy's character arc, where I think I recently read something where initially Missy was meant to stand with the Doctor.
Okay.
But I think it might have even been Capaldi or someone that said to Moffat, like, don't have her do that. Like,
I know what you're it was something about
recently, I swear.
Originally it was written that when he shouts at them to stop and turn, like when he's like don't walk away, originally they did turn around, and Capaldi was like, can you make it so that, can we just try it so they don't, and I'll have to run after them like desperately, like it's not working. And you see that him really, really fighting for it's such a beautiful scene. That, like, my one gripe with that scene specifically is that the really odd lighting and like colouring of it.
Really bizarre.
It's like the Day for Night in the Series 8 finale too, where it's like that there is an excuse in the episode, because it's like in Series 8 it's like there's the cloud thing, so it's like kind of not actually like, and then obviously in Series 10 it's like they're in this weird spaceship that it's not like a natural environment, but it does look kind of weird visually.
It just looks a bit murky, but the visuals aside, I mean the visuals for the whole episode, I mean Rachel Talalay,
fantastic,
incredible.
Like I don't think she's ever put a foot wrong.
No.
For the so good.
I mean, like, and she's even been upfront that whole weird David Tennant green screen from the
Starbeast, that wasn't her.
So that she can't even be blamed for that. So
I love that she kind of just came out and went,
I was like, that was not me.
That wasn't me.
That wasn't me.
Wash her hands a bit.
Don't you dare.
Don't sully my name with that. But that scene, I think, is the standout moment of the whole story for me.
I love the tragedy that the Doctor never finds out that Missy changed her mind and wanted to come back. He never finds out, and he never, like, the Doctor still doesn't know
Yeah.
Like, and has come across the Master since, and it's just never been brought up again. It's just a beautiful way of wrapping up that whole character story of Missy, saying that she did decide in the end to stand with the Doctor and be good and change her mind, but it never went anywhere because that's just the tragedy of it. It was just too late.
Yeah.
And I think it's almost not the obvious way to wrap it up, but it's the way that makes complete sense. Because it feels to, if it doesn't go anywhere and she decides to sort of neglect that, then it feels a little bit, it doesn't feel satisfying. If she has a full redemption, it feels too clean. I think
exactly, it's just the perfect ground of it.
Yeah, right there. And I think also,
especially because it highlights on the Master's own self-destructive nature, because they literally have the Master kill Missy rather than do it. It shows the difference in the mindset of the different incarnations, and it shows how the Master has always been the main thing holding the Master back. Basically, the Master's always been their own worst enemy. So it's like they take that in a very literal sense for the episode, but the metaphor is so clear and obvious, and it works so well.
Yeah.
And I think also, as you were saying, with the sort of pettiness of John Simm's Master and where like refusing to regenerate,
so good.
That then carries through because he is essentially winning or trying to claim a victory over his future self.
Yeah.
Even like
at a detriment to himself.
Yeah, like his pettiness is so.
He would rather outright kill Missy because they imply that there's no way. I know things have changed since then, but in the episode they say Missy is dead. There's literally no way back. He would rather do that just to stop the Doctor having his gratifying moment of changing the Master. He would rather outright kill his own future incarnation, completely dead forever. Just for that one little moment.
Like, it's so poetic. It's so satisfying. Like like in terms of character, like thematically, narratively, everything just goes.
It's
and I know that it's maybe an overused complaint, but I would have loved for Capaldi to have gone out on this story.
I mean that was obviously the original plan. Twice Upon a Time was like a very last minute. I think they did perfectly with Twice Upon a Time as like a last minute.
It's like an epilogue sort of.
Yeah, it's an epilogue, and I feel like it's a brilliant full circle moment of like the things. Again, this is something I've made a video about because it's an important episode to me personally. So I've always cared about it, even if it like I acknowledge that there are things about Twice Upon a Time, like the first Doctor's characterization isn't good. There are elements, but like I like that there's not a monster to beat.
Yeah,
the whole thing is like
that. Again, it's like playing on the Doctor's need to be a hero and need to fight, and it's like at the end of the day, it's like this isn't something to fight against, and he kind of has to accept that feeling of like moving on, and it's just such a brilliant episode, especially considering how it was never meant to exist to begin with. And I think it's a good way of bridging the gap between his regeneration. So I like Twice Upon a Time, and I understand and respect other people's opinions, but I also know that those opinions can be horrendously wrong.
I love the sort of poetic tragedy of Loenzo about, I hope there'd be stars.
So
like, just everything about it.
Is, so good.
It's just such a beautiful little moment that, I almost just want that to be the end. I really like how nicely wrapped up everything is by the end of The Doctor Falls.
It's rare for like a finale to be the best episode of a Doctor Who series.
I
know we talked about Part in Other Ways earlier, but these are the only two instances I could really say where it's like the best episode out of the series, just because it just comes together so perfectly in just every way. And it's just it's a brilliant, and I love how they changed the setting from the the bridge and the industrial time diluted city at the bottom to then this like wide open fake countryside for the next. It's just like a thing Moffat always did with his two-parters, where like not so much like under Russell, but in his own era, a lot of Moffat two-parters, first part would be set in one setting, the second part would be in a completely different setting. Like Time of Angels and Flesh and Stone, like very different settings. Impossible Astronaut, Day of the Moon, very different. Yeah, so he just changes up like in the second part and makes it like a whole different episode almost. And Wild Enough in Time and Dr. Falls is a prime example of that.
Yeah,
because he just completely changes the setting and suddenly introduces a whole new bunch of side characters in the second part that then become like the heart and soul of the thing of like, these are the people to protect. It's just such a good way of making the second part so important, and in my opinion, I think it is just as good as the first part. I think there is a consistency there, and yeah, it's just fantastic. The only real issue I have really with Series 10 finale is how kind of cheap it feels that Bill kind of gets to leave as like another puddle entity. I think it's kind of a bit of a it's like emotional, it's a nice ending for her, the thing, but it just feels a bit like,
I wish
I don't know,
ending with Cyberman.
Yeah, it would have been like a horrifying ending for her, but that kind of tracks with the episode as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just like the unfair reality of like the situation they're in.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to everybody's favourite Doctor, number 13.
It's tricky because there aren't many, I will admit, that I care for in the 13th Doctor era, just on a personal standpoint. But I do like Haunting of Villa Diodati. I know that's like kind of a common one to have. But I like the atmosphere of it. It's the very good period setting, and I like it's just typical like horror premise of sheltering from the storm inside this house that then becomes a claustrophobic horror, gothic horror thing. And obviously I think I don't really like what they did with Ashad after the episode, but I think in Haunting of Villa Diodati alone, he is like a really great idea, the kind of like half converted Cyberman that is battling between these two instincts, not in a sense of like, oh, he wants to be, he's conflicted, more of like one moment he has human rage and the next moment he's got that just emotionless about him. It's just a great way of showing the different sides of being a Cyberman, like, because it's just, and obviously visually it taps into a lot of like the same narrative beats of Cyberwoman, but obviously fixes it by not having him walking around in a skimpy bikini the whole time.
There's some like weird
nerd sex appeal, so you can actually focus on the story it's trying to tell. I love the narrative of Cyberwoman, and I love what they're going for it, but they just ruin it by going for that like edgy sexualized idea. It just undercuts and devalues the whole narrative of it.
I think especially when you've got like, because the core premise, we were talking about the body horror of the Cybermen, that core sort of premise feels like, let's do it in Torchwood because we can actually do it.
And they have a great shot of like the Japanese scientist guy when she tries to convert him, and his face is like kind of
with the sort of half like the handlebars in, just bloody eye.
It's such a striking visual that only Torchwood could do, and it's they just kind of ruin it with the rest. But anyway, Haunting of Villa Diodati kind of goes for like a similar half conversion vibe, and it gets it right, and it's just such a cluster. Like, it gets kind of bogged down with all like the Siberian stuff and how it's trying to tie into like the finale. But I think as just like a slasher villain gothic horror thing, it's just a really strong, well crafted episode.
I've got this as my favorite. I'm in a similar boat. There's not a lot of Jodie Whittaker stories that I feel I actually would say I like. And even the ones that I do like, I think they have flaws. To like varying amounts or varying degrees. But this, I think, is like probably the standout. I know
it's
that
just so atmospheric.
Yeah, it just feels like a different flavour of like what the show had been and that era had been.
And the idea of just like this constantly changing mystery house almost, where like you're getting trapped in rooms and suddenly like doors are there that weren't there, or walls, and just this constant changing. It's just like a really good setting that they do a lot with it. Like I love the scene of like the loop when Yaz and Ryan are like trying to walk down the stairs, and then they suddenly just show up at the top again.
Yeah.
And it's just such a great stuff like that of just, we're trapped here.
It's some really cool ideas, and I think even just the reveal of Ashad as the lone Cyberman, like I remember
with the lightning, and it's such a great visual,
and like seeing it like where you've got the lake and sort of seeing it in the distance, and then him coming through through the doorway, like it's such a good reveal. And I know it's one of those where you think that this is an episode that's not related to the finale, but surprise, it is. It's kind of an almost not a 3-parter, but like
the turn left situation.
Exactly, yeah. But doing it like halfway through, you know, because a lot of you turn left, or like a Utopia, it's in the sort of final, you know, 10 15. But doing it sort of like having had the setup and then surprise, and obviously that's the first we'd seen of the Cybermen since series 10. So yeah, it was, I remember being quite excited for it.
I just love how brutal Ashad is in the episode, where he'll literally just like, you know, he tracks down the maid with the baby and just snaps her neck, and then like there's like the butler or whatever that he just slams into a wall, and it's just so brutal with everything, and it just feels so visceral with the way he's just almost like a Terminator.
Yeah.
This is the one thing that I do really like about. I'm not like a biggest Chibnall era stan, but the one thing that I will always say about Chibnall is his monsters or his aliens, they are brutal. He has a harshness with his monsters. And that's a favourable thing. That's a good thing. They're not soft.
Yeah, he's not scared to kill some characters off. Yeah. That's a fair point, actually.
Yeah. I really like how brutal his Daleks are, because they get lost and mellow with some stories, but I feel like his Dalek stories are quite. Anyway.
I mean,
no.
Yeah, I'm not too keen on the Chibnall Dalek stories.
I'm not saying they're
I
great.
do see what you mean, where they try.
But I think it does try.
I think of the three, I think Resolution is my favourite of the three.
Interesting.
I can't even remember what that one is.
Revolution is the one with Captain Jack in.
No, so not Revolution. Resolution.
Oh,
the one with...
I thought you said Revolution.
No. Oh God, no, not Revolution.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense. Yeah, that's why I was confused. I was like, yeah, I feel like they get worse as you go.
Yeah, I think there's redeeming qualities in Eve of the Daleks.
I like Eve of the Daleks.
But
my main issue with Eve of the Daleks, and I know it's such like a weird pedantry fan thing, but it's the fact where these are meant to be like these brutal killer Daleks, and yet they constantly miss worse than they've ever missed before.
Yeah.
Even though it's an episode where they can actually kill people for a change.
Yeah.
Like they can actually, it's like they don't do it at times. Like they have one corridor and they got these little Gatling gun things that they're like the mini guns that they're shooting, and they miss every shot. And it's just like, come on, man.
And also the fact that, like, you know, when you think back to something like Dalek in series 1, and you've got that midsection spinning round and all of this, and then like, you know, now we've got John Bishop being like, "You're right, mate," and just like running round him, like it. Yeah, it kind of takes a little bit of the.
I take back my previous statement. Actually, ignore what I said.
But there's some
but anyway,
all right stuff in there. But Yeah, Villa Diodati, I think it's maybe one of Jodie's strongest performances. My issue with Jodie's Doctor is that I never quite clicked and sort of believed that it was this character. It almost felt a little bit like a remembered sort of impression of Matt and David of, oh, and then this bit, and I'll talk really fast, and I'll do some sort of like kooky things of it, and it, I never really gelled with it or like felt was like particularly convinced until you get certain scenes like her confrontation with Ashad in this episode, and I was like, there it is, that's I love that, like, because there's such a there's like a little bit of swagger, there's a bit of arrogance, there's like a sort of commanding in the room. She's throwing a few little quips out, but also it's not like a desensitization to the threat. There's a she's taking it seriously, but she's trying to be doctory about it. And there's I think, to be fair, I think a lot of her sort of one-on-one confrontation scenes with villains, I think it's the same with the scene in War of the Sontarans on the battlefield. I quite like the scene in Resolution where she first sort of faces off against. I think it's when she's like one-on-one, that's where I go, oh, this is the Doctor. So it's which is great when you're watching it, but it then makes me like disappointed when it's like, not that I'd think she should be necessarily like that all the time, but when you get those little glimpses, and I that's when I feel connected and really like I can see that character, and then 90% of the time I'm not as on board. But
I think she's solid in Villa Diodati. It's a good episode all around. Because I think a problem with a lot of like Doctor Who since Series 10 in general is that I don't feel like I can just like rewatch it easily, just like throw something on and rewatch it. But I feel like Villa Diodati is one of those where you can, like you can just kind of put it on and you can get sucked into it, and I think it's probably my favorite and like the one I can easily revisit out of that era, definitely.
Yeah, completely agree. I'm slightly apprehensive of what your
It could be anything.
Yeah. It could.
So, I'm going to preface everything first.
Okay.
So, I have only seen Jodie's stuff twice. And when you think about it, I've watched everything else a million trillion times. Mm-hmm. So I have a better reading of everything else over what I would choose my favourite here. So I was torn between two, really, which are the ones that I've watched the most. And more
is one of them Power of the Doctor?
Twice. No.
Okay.
No. I don't. I have to watch it like as my next episode so I can finish my regeneration binge, and I'm not looking forward to it. There are two that I watched the most if I'm going to do a Jodie rewatch. One of them is what you both just said, The Haunting. That was like my initial like go-to, like I like everything that happens there. I can't really remember a lot of it. I know some of it I felt like drags a little bit, but like that's one of the good ones that I do enjoy. And the second one is
I have no idea.
Is Arachnids in the UK.
Oh no.
Right, well, thank you for joining us for another episode of
No, listen.
Thanks for having me on.
No! Just hear me out. I love big spiders.
I hate big spiders.
I love big spiders. I love Planet of the Spiders. I love Arachnos. And I think there's some redeeming stuff in Arachnids in the UK. The ending I don't agree with. Like, I don't watch it. Go on.
I will say,
a while ago, I was like rewatching all of Doctor Who with someone, and we got to series 11, and I was just like dreading it, whatever, and we watched it, and like I feel like if you're just watching it for vibes and kind of switching your brain off, I feel like you can enjoy something like Arachnids UK in the UK. I was like, okay, this isn't awful.
Yeah.
You know, I had the same kind of. It was like when I watched Dragonfire, and I was like, this isn't great, but it's not awful. You can enjoy this. You know, it's.
If I'm gonna watch a Jodie episode and I just want to sit and enjoy it, then like there are like it's shot beautifully. That there was some moments in there, especially like when they go into the flat at the beginning and everything's covered in cobwebs, including that body, and everything's wrapped, and like all of that is like it visually it's stunning. And there's some interesting moments in there. There are some characters that you hate and are jarring, but like on the whole, if you were to say like, oh, I've got a gun to my head, pick a Jodie episode to enjoy, I'd put that one on.
It's an interesting.
I can see it as because it's always tricky to because obviously the whole point of this is like favorites, not best, and I've always found it hard to like reconcile the difference between the two, because it's like usually I would consider like the best one to be one of like my favorite ones. But I can understand why someone would enjoy something like Arachnids in the UK, because it's quite light at times. It's quite intentionally going for like a First Davis era kind of vibe, where it's like the gimmick is something a little bit goofy, where it's like it's giant spiders that have been mutated by radiation, like, and things like that. So it's like it's kind of a bit silly. So I can see it personally, even if I'm not fond of the episode, but I can definitely understand how it's enjoyable and light, and you can kind of throw it on whenever.
Thank you for.
I was going to say you've come in with a really diplomatic response there, because my response.
I'm practicing to be a politician.
My response when you said if somebody had a gun to my head and said pick a favourite Jodie episode, I was genuinely going to say, I wouldn't put a gun to your head. That's far too mean. You can die of oxygen starvation instead.
Well, that's one of the things I disagree with. Like I said, when it comes to the ending, let's not do that.
It's a very weird ending there.
Yeah,
I think to give it its flowers. I agree. I think it looks the direction I'm not so hot on. But like the production design of the flat with the cobwebs and stuff, I think is really, really good. And I think the although it's very brief, the subplot of Graham sort of going back to the house and dealing with his grief of having lost Grace, and I think there's some nice beats there. That's all I got.
Okay, well, you know what, I'll take that.
I did once. I remember you saying that this was you really liked this episode to me once.
That's a strong use of words, but yeah.
No, you did. You did say I really like Arachnids in the UK.
I do like Arachnids.
And I remember sending you the bit in Robot Sherwood, where Clara's like, can you explain your plan without using the word sonic screwdriver?
Yeah.
And this was like, can you explain why you like this episode without using the words big spiders?
Yeah.
No is the answer.
No is the answer. But you asked my favourite and I delivered.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't like spiders. I don't like small spiders. I don't like big spiders. And I don't like giant spiders.
Yeah. So fair.
Maybe not the one for you then.
Yeah, very.
Shall we move on to... Have we got a best pick for 14?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, there's so many episodes to pick from.
I mean,
there's so many.
There's a lot.
It's so difficult.
I get the sense we might all have the same one.
I don't think so.
Oh, really?
Because I think I already know which one your guys are going to say, and controversially, I am not a huge fan of that one, and it's probably my least favorite out of the three. I'm not like it's hard to kind of, because I think the other two that are in contention, I think they have huge flaws, and it's like it's hard to decide which one I prefer between them two. I think in terms of pure vibes and like the place everything was in when it came out, I kind of want to say the Star Beast.
Oh my god.
Interesting.
That's really interesting.
But because off the back of the Chibnall era, which I didn't like, and I felt like it was what didn't feel like Doctor Who a lot of the times, the Star Beast came in and it kind of felt like, okay, these are a lot of like the vibes I'm used to. This is a lot similar. I can get behind this. Now I will say, I absolutely hate those like two infamous moments of Davis trying to be progressive and just absolutely just alienating everyone across the entire political spectrum with his attempts to do so. They're both just really terrible, cringeworthy moments. But I think as an episode that kind of, I'm not huge on like the nostalgia thing, but it's nice to see the Doctor and Donna reunite.
Yeah.
It's nice to have kind of a memorable villain that's, the Meep starts off cute and cuddly and then becomes evil. That's nice. And it's just a very typical Doctor Who episode. Not necessarily sure it like deserved to be like a special. It kind of feels like a very like middle of series kind of episode.
Yeah.
But it did a lot for me to kind of restore the kind of idea that, okay, it's not just that I don't like Doctor Who anymore, it's that it genuinely is just the direction it has been in.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't like the kind of where Donna gets her memories back. I don't like the they just press an undo button that fixes everything. But there is a lot of just like fun moments in there that it's just kind of safe and reliable, which I do like the giggle, but I don't like, I think a lot of that is in retrospect. I don't like how it sets up what UNIT now currently is. I still don't really like the bi-generation stuff and a lot of that. But I think I do, in terms of like something I can just put on whenever, I think Star Beast probably wins out over the giggle. And now it's time for you two to talk about why you like Wild Blue Yonder.
Yes.
I believe so, yes. Interestingly, I think Star Beast is my least favourite of the three.
Same.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. Like, a lot of people don't like it.
Yeah. It's not that I don't like it, it's just the weakest of the three. I think.
Yeah.
Like, that was like my 7.5 out of 10.
So I was a lot more. I had that like a 6.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I feel like my favorite would probably be the giggle if it wasn't like a regeneration story with like adding so much on at the end.
Yeah.
Of all like the bi-generation. So if it just ended with like, and the whole playing catch to beat the toy maker thing, I don't like either. Like I love like most of the giggle, and it would win out if it wasn't for like just the way things end off so weirdly in that episode. So it's not like I think Star Beast is like a masterpiece or anything. I think it's just the one I prefer the most out of the three.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's fair. And I think there is something to say there about like the rewatchability and the vibes and just being able to throw it on and be like, yeah. I did consider the giggle
so did I.
As like a favourite, because for similar kind of reasoning of like being able to throw it on and just
and
like
just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because Wild Blue Yonder, while it is the best written out of all three and what it sets up, and it's an interesting story, it's a good way to progress it, the Star Beast and the giggle feel the most connected out of this series.
Yeah. It's a bit of a sidestep from the, it's the odd one out, I think, of the three.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. But like, I enjoy the giggle. I think it's fun. I like the toy maker. I was really excited to know that he was coming back. I was really intrigued on where that was going. I think visually some of the stuff is absolutely brilliant. I love the theatre scene. Like, that is just gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like, visually and just as a scene. I don't mind the bio-regeneration stuff, and I think how it was shot was really nice as well. So, like, I think it's like a good rewatchable one, but I choose Wild Blue Yonder over that just because of the darkness of it and the vibe that I would tend to gravitate to more.
I think it's
out of the three even.
It's almost for me, I feel like it's the boldest Doctor Who had been in a very long time.
I love the character stuff in Wild Blue Yonder. Like, the character stuff is fantastic. Like, the reason I don't gel with it as much is just purely like the visual side of it.
Yeah.
I don't like the reliance on green screen.
Yeah.
I think, the effects kind of, they feel like a tonal clash with what the episode is trying to do narrative wise, like in the tone of it. You have like the goofy giant Doctor and Donna chasing them, like, and things. It just looks a bit, I understand Doctor Who's goofy and stuff, but the episode is very clearly not trying to be goofy.
Yeah.
And yet they have goofy visuals. So that's what throws it off. Like, as a character piece, it would absolutely be my favorite. And like, yeah. But it's just that other side of it is what kind of lets it down for me. But character-wise, it is absolutely incredible.
Because I think for me, the visuals... Because, there's some stuff in there that's, like, really ropey. But for me, that kind of like
the whole bit where David Tennant's crab walking with his head,
with his head between his legs and...
under his crotch, basically.
But like, part of it's that kind of uncanny valley, like, kind of adds to it weirdly for me.
I get that. Yeah,
but I understand how, like, tonally it could feel. It feels like a bit of a mismatch. But I remember watching it for the first time and just being like, what is this?
Yeah.
This is weird.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah, it's good in that it feels so, like, when you start watching it, you genuinely don't know what you're in for.
Yeah.
And I think that's like such, especially because Doctor Who marketing has had, like, we were talking about how the Mondasian Cybermen were ruined, like, revealed to be coming back, and John Sims Master was like, all of that, like, the marketing side of it. For Wild Blue Yonder, I think it was such a good decision to just
not say anything. Yeah.
I mean, it's such an interesting idea to literally just have 2 actors for the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's just, there's only the Doctor. And I know at the end you have, like, Wolf or whatever, where it cuts into the giggle. But, like, in terms of the actual episode, Wild Blue Yonder literally only has the Doctor and Donna. There's literally no one else there. And it's just, it's so good.
Such a testament to those 2 actors and their chemistry and, being able to...
And how they're able to play mirror versions of themselves so effectively.
And all of that was the choreography around that, and the stunt... Well, not stunt people, but their stand-ins for how they shot it was done so well.
Yeah. I think that's
there's literally only one time where you can tell that it's not 2 Catherine Tates, is in one reflection. There's one reflection at the end when they're standing face to face, where you see in the reflection of, there's proper Donna on the left, and there's standing Donna on the right, and you can just see the reflection of her face, not Donna's, and that's the only time.
And that's such, like, a small little, like, minute detail that you have to, like, look for.
I only found it when I was taking a screenshot for my Twitter post the other day.
Oh, okay.
That's the only way, because I was looking at it to see if it was blurry from what I screenshotted, because they were moving, and I just saw her face in the reflection, and that's it. Like, that's incredible.
That's the thing, like, you wouldn't otherwise notice. It's such a good job. Like, I think objectively, Wild Blue Yonder is probably the best out of the 3.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not, like, a huge fan of it. But I think, like, when you look at, like, how it was made, the story it tells, kind of all that stuff, it's a really strong episode. It's just, oh yeah, obviously it doesn't quite work for me, but I can acknowledge that it is like really strong. And you know, I do love the idea of the Doctor picking up the wrong Donna at the end to add like those little bits of stakes. You know, I think maybe it could have been handled a little bit better, like in some tiny little ways. But I do love it as just like this last minute twist, because it's just so good to be like, well, no one would know otherwise, and that he literally only knew just because of this one tiny little detail, like because it was like the arms are millimeters too long still or something like that. That's the only way he knows, and that's literally none of us would be able to notice that.
Yeah, you know, because it's a bit of a sci-fi trope, isn't it, of having which one's the real one, and you know, the doppelgangers, and because it's essentially just a whole story of that. Like of how do I know you're the real one? But it's so baked in those characters, and I think RTD and David and Catherine know those characters so well, that it just feels effortless to really like continue to dig into all those layers and nuances.
I mean, I just love the cut where it's like when they're in the two different rooms, and then like I think the doctor comes back first, and then it suddenly cuts to him in a completely different room. It's like, hold on a second, what's going on here? Because they just don't acknowledge it for ages.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just like, wait, sorry, what
and
am
it
I looking at here?
just sits in the back of your head. Because I remember feeling very smug, because when I first watched it, there's with how Tennant sort of walks into the room, just his posture's wrong,
and then when he goes to the wall and he slides down the wall, that was the moment I was like, that's not 14. He's different.
It's that it sows seeds of doubt without immediately playing its hand and being like, these are copies. You're like, hang on a sec, like, are they just doing some weird thing where they're like cutting between, like, you know, he was in that room earlier and they're just like kind of and it's like, is this just like a time thing? But no, and then they kind of build up to it slowly, and then it's just that great reveal, and then it's just all guns blazing from there.
I really like that episode. It's definitely got a few flaws in there, but I think just as a piece of telly, it was
good.
I mean, and we get that incredible monologue by the Doctor about like where the TARDIS goes.
I love that so much.
That's so good. Beautiful. Like, it'll be on a hill, and then like a civilization will rise around it, and then be teared down, and it will always just all be there.
And it's outcropped by the sea.
There's some really beautiful moments in there. I also like the flux sort of comes back.
They do. They finally acknowledge it a bit,
and they give it and kind of retroactively give it a reason to exist and do something with it. I think it's incredible that you can, for like when watching War Blue Yonder, and you've got Tennant talking about the flux. It's something that I didn't really remember that well. I can't remember, but like I'm watching, I'm like, I believe that you have experienced this and are really like so cut up about it. He's good, that David Tennant, isn't he?
Do you remember that there was a fan theory, because the bit where fake Donna, or I think it's real Donna, is talking to the fake Doctor about her, her Auntie Iris or whatever.
Yes.
And then when Miss Flood showed up, people were like, oh, maybe that's Auntie Iris and it's Iris Wildtime.
And Anita Dobson is going to regenerate into Casey Manning. I think we need to do an episode on like wild fan theories at some point.
Like that crazy
Master.
fan theory. Someone, is it her name? Cat and Co had something about like Mrs. Flood is the Rani because she rearranged Rani into Rain or something like that. And God,
was I wrong?
But the show would never do anything like that.
No, that would be insane.
Okay, you know
the
what?
humility, the amount of humble pie I had to eat
Because there were so many times Kat and I would be talking, I'd be like, nah, there's no chance that that'll be real.
I know.
Yeah.
I did get a few apologies.
Did I apologise or did
No.
I not? Okay, well, I apologise now. I'm
Thank
sorry
you.
for doubting you.
No, it's fine. No, it's because I got into some like harsh arguments with people over it. Not on my fault, but like people get really like harsh with me, and I was just like, guys, this is just what I think. Like, this is just what I think. And then when it happened, I was like, I feel so justified right now. And then I got some sorries.
But the funniest thing is, the episodes never do the whole Rani Rain thing.
No.
Yeah.
Like, even though that's like what the whole theory hinges on.
No, I had some other good theories. I had some other things. It wasn't just Rain.
Is it that you saw a woman and went, the Rani's a woman?
No. Go away.
Well, speaking of,
yeah.
shall we get on to our final little segment?
Oh, I'm interested.
What everyone's 15 picks.
This is the trickiest one for me.
Because I do like some episodes of the 15th Doctor era. Like, I know people have always branded me as like this hater that hates every episode, even though I have praised a fair few, like probably about half, literally half, like probably about like, was it about half of season 2 I had very good praise for, almost exactly half. But it's so weird because I feel like none of the episodes really have that sense of like throw on whenever rewatchability.
Yeah.
Because they all try to be like very high concept, and I think, that works sometimes, but I feel like it damages being able to throw it on and rewatch it whenever.
Yeah. And
kind of thing. So it's hard to kind of pick out what I would consider my favorite, even though I've liked quite a few. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be. I mean, I feel like either Lux or The Well, maybe. There's definitely like recency bias to there, but I mean, maybe Lux, because the Well kind of crumbles the more you think about it, and like why does it have to be the midnight entity and things like that. Like, I do love The Well; it's got great sci-fi horror vibes. I feel like it probably would have been better off though if it wasn't randomly connected to an older episode. But Lux, I think, is just like a pure Doctor Who story.
Yeah.
Where it's like a creepy abandoned cinema where a bunch of people vanished. Like, I think when they first did the trailer, I was talking to Kat about this. Like, this is what I've wanted.
Yeah.
Like, just like, it's just a basic Doctor Who setup where it's just, creepy cinema, people have vanished, a cartoon has come to life and is evil. It's like, that's all you need. Like, yeah, I think Lux is probably my favorite from the 15th Doctor era. It's just so like the setting is well realized, even though it's quite limited for what they can show for like the setting. It's just like a basic diner in a cinema. Mr. Ringerding is just a fantastic creation.
Yeah.
That it managed to do what Doctor Who hasn't done in quite a while, and kind of breach containment and find its way into the outside world, even if that meant some very horrifying things that artists have done with the character. I have seen things that I wish I could never. I wish I could unsee.
Oh, really?
The wrong side of the internet. Encountered Mr. Ringerding.
Oh, no. Is it another dad?
But yeah, Lux.
Dad and Carvanista.
Yeah, literally, it's stuff like that. It's horrifying.
Oh dear.
Good.
But Lux is a great villain, voiced incredibly by Alan Cumming.
Yeah.
So great at like coming across all innocent at first, and you immediately know something's off about him.
Oh, yeah,
even if you don't see the cold open, you're like, okay, this guy is kind of a bit suspicious. And then he kind of has to reveal and goes full mask off and becomes a villain. And yeah, it's just great. And I do like how they play with the medium and make them animated for a bit.
Yeah.
I don't mind the whole Doctor Who fan scene. I just think it maybe drags on a little bit too long. That's my main issue with it. Some of the things maybe, like the whole hashtag RIP Doctor Who thing. Like I think it maybe like the anytime someone tries to vocalize like a hashtag like that, it just always sounds awkward.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's kind of like, I understand what they were trying to go for with that moment, but I feel like in actual practical, it's like, okay, it just kind of feels a bit stunted when you say it out loud.
Yeah.
And I think it just maybe goes on a little bit too long, that section. And I think probably my main actual issue with Lux is how we don't get enough of Lux. He takes a back seat for the whole like middle section.
This was.
I feel like I'm listening to Liam all over again.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a great episode. So consistent. It just feels like a Doctor Who episode through and through.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels, the highest compliment I can pay it is that it feels like it would. It feels like it's cut from the same cloth as
Russell's first
RTD1.
Yeah.
Just we've got more of a budget.
Yeah.
We don't have to.
Honestly, if the first 3 episodes of season 1 were the first 3 episodes of season 2, I feel like things might have gone a lot smoother in terms of general reception of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's definitely
it's just
a stronger...
so much. It feels so much more like Doctor Who when you start season 2. I feel like it would have been so much more accessible.
Yeah.
And it feels more, I think, more consistent quality wise, but also
grounded.
Yeah, but also it's doing very different. They feel like very, very fresh, very sort of unique, but still with a bit of a through line of Whereas I think the first few of season 1 feel a little bit more like
we're disjointed, aren't they?
We're here now. We're here.
Yeah.
It's not the...
Because I personally think the best 15th Doctor story is still Boom, in my opinion. But my favourite would probably be Lux.
Yeah.
Because I feel like some of Boom, you can only really watch it necessarily once.
Yeah.
And you can't really re-watch it because it's the whole thing is the tension and thing. And once you've seen the process and the journey and how it all ends up, whatever, it doesn't quite work subsequent times.
Yeah.
But something like Lux, I feel like you can just kind of watch loads of times, and so it's probably again that distinction between the best and
favourite.
The favourite kind of idea.
Yeah. What's your favourite?
Well, I considered Lux. I considered Lux. I considered Boom. I considered Rogue.
Okay.
Because I think that's another one. It's another one that, although there are things that I think the romance angle is very rushed, and the monsters are fun, but maybe don't get as much done with them as they maybe could have done, and the period setting, I think you probably could have done a bit more with that. It's one I feel like I could throw on and just be like, this is fun vibes.
Yeah.
My favourite,
absolute favourite, is Space Baby.
Yeah.
No, my favourite is the story in the engine from this series.
That's very solid pick.
Yeah.
I think I said when we did our episode on it, just fresh. It just felt so unique and original, and like a real breath of fresh air to see what's Doctor Who like through this lens.
Exactly. Yeah.
And something new and exciting, and just it was just a new flavour of Doctor Who.
It's a great, it taps into real culture and history, and it kind of does that kind of the educational thing that a lot of Doctor Who has always done, where it kind of, you can watch something about a different place or a different time and learn something.
Yeah.
In this case, it's, you kind of learn about, the importance of barbershops within that culture, where it's it was written to be, it's a place where, people can just be themselves and kind of feel in a community, because in a lot of places, in places like Nigeria or whatever, you've got to project a certain image of yourself or whatever. And I think in your talked about this, because you wrote a play about this, it kind of allows men to be quite a bit more open about their feelings and be a bit more vulnerable than they can otherwise be in public, or especially in a lot of places with a lot of policing issues, they can kind of exist in a public place where they feel safer, because it's just their own kind of, it's a community thing. And it's just interesting to see that in the lens of Doctor Who, and kind of making the Doctor kind of taking advantage of how he is this new incarnation who is black, and we haven't really had that from a main Doctor before, and kind of seeing how you can tell that story through the lens of him feeling like he can belong somewhere. Like, I know obviously people are like, oh, but he's an alien, he's not actually like, it's like, but it's the whole thing of like they're taking that advantage of being able to now tell that story and show that importance of barbershops and things like that, and then making a story about, you know, that anyone can relate to regardless of culture. It's just how anytime you're getting your haircut, you usually talk to your hairdresser or your barber, you have a chat, and sometimes you tell each other stories or whatever, and it's kind of turns that into like a Doctor Who narrative, which is a fun idea.
Yeah, and I really love the sort of intertextuality of it all, of like being a story about stories, and that you can so obviously hear in the script Anura Ellam's like voice as a writer,
experience,
his experiences, and just that he has like a real passion for stories, for writing, for you know, and
the barber is a fantastic character.
Yeah,
like, he's really well acted.
He's
like
really, really good.
Yeah, incredible, and it's
so
like,
much presence.
Yeah, simultaneously like really sinister, and then like really sympathetic, and the sort of transition between the two, or like they don't detract from one another. And I really like the idea that the Doctor sort of conceptually is just an amalgamation of all of these stories and lives and experiences. Just there's something about that I was drawn to. And then putting that through the sort of thematic comparisons with West African mythology and mythology in general, and you know, that kind of culture of specifically in Africa, like sort of the oral tradition of storytelling and passing a story down through just it being told and through the generations, and which I think is something that in the Western world we don't really have as much, especially you know, in the 21st century. It's all written or recorded, or you know, and I think there's something really special about that, directly interacting with another person and sharing this story, for that to then travel on and you know, take on new life.
I mean, another thing I love about that episode is how, you know, at the start, when it's like the Doctor going through like the marketplace, you know, he's friendly with everyone, he knows where he's going, he knows how to like navigate it, and you know, he's chatting with people, kind of, he's just moving through happy. And then when Belinda has to do it, it's a place she doesn't know. It's like a completely foreign world to her. She's bumping into people, knocking things over. It's all chaotic and overwhelming to her. And it's just so interesting to show how two people can have such different experiences and like outlook on the exact same place in the world. Just based on how familiar they are with it.
But yeah, that episode's really, really lovely, really special. I think there's a real like magic and heart and soul to it. And I think you can really tell that Ncuti in particular is like,
he's in his element,
really connected with the material.
I mean, it was a story that he was pushing for, wasn't it?
He wanted it,
I think he pushed for a story like that.
And then he sort of recommended Anura Alarms to Russell. Because I think he'd seen the Barbershop Chronicles and was like, get him to write
it's obviously based on.
It's a kind of like very loose adaptation of, but love that story. And then should we do our picks for 16th Doctor?
Shut up.
We're just gonna time proof this. We're gonna you know.
My favourite bit of that 1/16th Doctor episode is
when that bit where
that thing happened.
I don't know. I wasn't too keen on that. I liked when earlier in the episode that other thing happened.
Oh,
instead.
really?
Oh,
Okay. Well,
yeah, to be fair, that is good. That was good.
I mean, I didn't initially kind of resonate with it, but I'll take it.
And I think especially when she said to him about that thing, that was good. Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting characterized.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we're all in agreement.
Yeah.
I feel like, it's interesting that a lot of them we had like two people agreeing and then one person not.
Yeah.
I think because I've been on quite a few of these.
Yeah, that we kind of came to the same some crossover in the favourites. Yeah.
It's because they're so good.
And I think even in the ones that when we've not had the same, we've sort of gone,
can see it. Yeah.
There's not been any that I've been able to go, no.
Well,
apart from Arachnids in the UK.
Apart from when you got out of your seat and left the room.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that probably wraps us up there.
Yeah.
What a lovely discussion. What a
That
lovely,
was lovely.
positive Doctor Who discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good to be positive about things. Especially, it's been well documented my crash out season 2. So it's nice to show that I'm not just a crotchety old man that hates all the new stuff. And, But back in my day, it was better.
Are you feeling like it's lifted your spirits a little bit?
I still kind of stand by a lot of the I'm not really wanting to talk about things going forward.
Yeah.
But it's still nice to show that I'm not like really negative about everything and I hate Doctor Who now. It's the worst thing ever. It's like, no, there's still all the past that I have these favourite episodes that I can talk about and gush over and enjoy. It's not like the whole franchise is dead to me. I feel like people kind of might overreact by saying something like that. It's like anything that happens now doesn't erase what happened before.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Exactly. And it's there's a little era that's happening at the moment. Not a fan of, when it comes back and with a new showrunner and a new direction, you might go, let's dip my toe in, let's have a look. It's how it goes. It's all about the change.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and we've got all these episodes that we're able to talk about so in depth and find so much like interesting stuff about and meaning and stuff like that. And it's just, I feel like there's always been this idea that every Doctor Who episode is someone's favourite.
Yeah.
Like even ones that a lot of people joke about and hate, like Love and Monsters or whatever. Like I personally know someone who loves Love and Monsters. That's his favourite episode. And it's nice to see that everyone has a favourite. In Doctor Who, because then it just shows that the show always has an appeal to everyone. And it's like, even though I might hate some episodes, other people love them, and that's good. I will never say to anyone, it's like, you're wrong for liking this episode.
It's all it is all art subjective, etc.
Exactly.
And I'd never want to take away from if someone's
favourite episode.
Anyone's enjoyment of something. Like I can say, I don't enjoy it, and this is why. But like,
I might think someone is horrendously wrong for having Arachnids in the UK as their favourite 13th story.
Absolutely.
They're slim pickings.
That's an objectively bad opinion.
They're slim pickings.
Yeah, that's the one case where I will just say, no, you are wrong.
Remember, I chose the same one as you guys as well. Look, hold on. Which one comes first in my notes? Okay, Eve with a question mark.
You've just drawn a big spider. What's this? Thank you very much for joining us, mate. It's been a pleasure.
It was a lot of fun. I'd be happy to come back at any point to chat about anything.
Please do.
It's been a blast.
Please do. Yeah, it's been lovely to have you on. Is there anything that you wanna plug before we?
Just the kind of Pokemon stuff I'm like kind of doing at the moment. I released like a massive video that kind of started off like, oh yeah, I'll just type about how, you know, like Emerald is better than a lot of the new stuff, and then that spiraled into like a half-hour long video. And then kind of I got stuff like a Mimikyu theory that I've written about like what I think this mysterious Pokemon is, that it hides underneath the disguise, and if you take the disguise off or look underneath, you can die. So I was like, oh, okay, what's underneath? Because it's very kind of cosmic horror in that sense of like, oh, it's just something that kills you by looking at it. I was like, okay, let's try and find a meaning and an explanation behind this. And I thought I came up with quite a good theory. So that's kind of what I'm working on at the moment. It probably won't be out by the time this goes up, but hopefully it does. So yeah, I've just been kind of just trying to branch out a little bit. Obviously, I've still got loads of Doctor Who stuff coming out. Just a couple more videos about the current era that I had recorded before the finale, and I kind of said I don't really want to talk about the current and future era anymore. So I'm kind of getting that out there, and then kind of just whatever, just some more video essays and things like that. I've got kind of like one of my very first videos was about kind of how the Weeping Angels kind of lost their allure and kind of stopped being interesting, and that was like before stuff like Village of the Angels and stuff like that. So I thought I'd kind of make a newer video kind of going similar ground, but kind of, you know, written better, because I've had now 5 years, over 5 years, that's more like 7 years of experience since then about writing and recording stuff. And then obviously to throw in how Village of the Angels treated them, and then expanded media as well. So that's something I've got in the works that will probably come out in like a month or so. So
I'm excited.
Yeah, I've got all sorts.
Yeah, looking forward to that one.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So,
well, we will look forward to seeing everything you've got on in the pipeline.
Thank you.
But yeah, if for whatever reason you're not already, go and follow Mr. Harbo Wholmes. Said it right again.
Oh yeah.
On the YouTubes. Are you Harbo Wholmes on Twitter as well?
Yeah,
is that your app?
Harbo on Twitter. I do have an Instagram. I very rarely post to, just every now and then. I'm not like a very photo taking person. It's hard to tie into my brand or whatever. But I just thought, why not? Sometimes, you know.
Why not?
But that's pretty much it. The only 3 things I use. So.
Oh, sweet. Well, we'll get all that in the description and all of that.
Thank you very much.
But yeah, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
If you'd like to come back again, we would love to have you.
Absolutely.
Anytime. Just give me a shout and I'll happy to come on.
Well, thank you very much. So, thank you very much for listening. Where can they find you?
They can find me at simplykt_XO on Twitter and Instagram. Where can they find you?
They can find me at Sudden Biscuit on Twitter, and also on the Sudden Biscuit YouTube channel, which you may very well be watching this here podcast on as we speak. Thank you very much to our guest this week, Mr. Harbo Wholmes, and we will be back next week. So, we'll see you there.
Yeah.
You big losers.
See you there.
I didn't mean it. I love you. Bye.
Bye.